I operate off of the assumption that everybody wants to make money, and if you're not making money lending, then lending is going to start sucking. So today I'm going to break down for you guys a deal that I had come through recently and talk to you about why I didn't do it, and then just break down bad borrowers in general, because who the heck cares how good a deal is if the borrower sucks? So I'm going to break down 3 things that I look for in bad borrowers, but I want to start with a story about a deal that I had come through just last week. And the details of the deal was somebody was asking for $160,000 in EMD, which for a lot of you probably sounds like a lot. Some of you, it may not sound like a lot. It's a lot of money. All right. Either way, it's a lot of money for earnest money. Now, as you've heard me talk about, I do understand how to protect money, right? I know how to keep money safe. But if you have a bad borrower, none of that stuff matters. So on this deal specifically, I charge an upfront fee on deals. I didn't used to. If you're watching videos from me in the past, I probably talk about how I don't. That's when I was getting started. Now I do. Why do I do that? Well, first of all, because I can pay other people, right, to help me with paperwork and things like that, which is the goal of this business anyways. Also, it gives a little bit of protection. Does it give you all the protection on your money? No. That's why I protect the money itself using all of my other methods and contracts and all that good stuff. But what it protects against is lending money out and then losing the deal, right? So I'll give you guys some simple math here. A typical EMD transaction is 30 days or less, right? If you were to lend your money out long-term in real estate, not in the stock market and other things, but if you lend your money long-term in real estate, it's reasonable to assume that you're going to make double-digit returns on your money and it's going to be backed by an asset. But we're going to talk about that double-digit return. So if you make 12% interest on your money, that's 1% a month. So whoa, this is how I came to this number. I charge 1% or a minimum of $250 on each deal that I do up front. Why do I do that? Well, because if the deal falls through, so for example, on this $160,000 deal, if I lent that money out for a month and it fell through, I wouldn't just get my money back minus the stupid wire fees and end up losing money. I would have made 1%, which would have been the same amount of money that I would have lent it out long-term anyways. And I can afford to pay a TC or a team member or whatever that spent the time working on these deals, because guess what? When a deal falls through, there was still plenty of work that went into it. You just don't get paid for it. So that is why I charge an upfront fee. Now, some people don't like that. I don't care. It's my business, right? It's my money. It's my business. That's how I set it up. That's how I've seen other people set it up successfully. And so that's why I do what I do. So back to the story. This guy comes in, says, Ryan, I need $160,000 for EMD. I say, awesome. Let me check on the details. I check on the details. They seem to check out, right? I was like, cool. I'm up to move forward. You just have to wire me $1,600 for the upfront fee. I'll get my team working on it right away. He says, ooh, can't do that. Can you come down? I said, no, I can't. That's my policy. That's my business. That's how I operate. But feel free to go find $160,000 in one day somewhere else, right? Which is usually my response to those people. Now, I'm going to go on a little side mission here to talk to you guys about the ability to do this, right? I can turn deals down now because I have more deal flow, because I've established my business. A lot of people aren't in that position, but I encourage you to think that way even if you're not. Even if it's your first ever deal, are you thinking with a clear and level head on which deals you should be getting into and which ones you shouldn't, and not, let me re-emphasize this, not thinking about how much money you could make or would make if the deal closes, because that is not relevant right now. What's relevant is getting into a good deal with a good borrower. And so this guy said, no, I'm not going to pay your money. That's unfair of you to charge me, blah, 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 whatever. I said, cool, that's fine. Just understand I'm not helping you. This is how my business works. If you want to submit the money, I'm happy to move forward. So he was all upset, whatever. Now, here's what happened next. And this happens a lot on my deals now. When I turn a deal down, you have to understand, this deal still had the potential profit to make a ton of money. I do not look at that, like I just said, so I don't care. I don't care how much money it's going to make if it doesn't fit into what I'm trying to do. But what I've done now is, through the Skool community, through financial foundations and financial mastery, I've been able to create a space where other people can go pick up these deals potentially, right? And so whenever somebody's mad at me or, has a deal that I'm not going to work on, I say, hey, look, sorry that you're upset about it, but you can go talk to this group of people, and I bet you'll be able to find somebody that's newer, that's more willing to risk some money, potentially risk, not making money, or having your money put away without making anything or stuff like that, and potentially would be willing to risk something like that to go do the deal. Why don't you go talk to them? So they did. they went and talked to somebody that ended up wanting to jump in on the deal with them because, again, there was really high potential profits. So I have now backed out of this deal. Somebody else has come into the deal. They're keeping me posted on the deal because if they do end up getting that upfront money and getting the deal back to par, back to what I would want for a deal that I would do, then I told them that I'd be willing to help them out. So that's the stage for the deal itself. Now, what ended up happening with this deal? Well, this is one of the first red flags I want to talk about. When I got on the phone call with this guy, he was, how do I put it? He was very unwilling to work with me, right? He laughed off the fee, which is fine, right? I don't care what he does, but you're not going to change what I do. So he laughed that off. He was unwilling. Basically, I straight up told him, I said, look, man, if I lend you this $160,000 and you cancel this deal, how am I going to make my money back, right? I'm going to get the $160,000, but what about all the time that I'm going to spend writing up these contracts, the fees I'm going to spend wiring this money, and having $160,000 cash elsewhere, not making any money? And he just said something along the lines of, that's your problem, right? So what did I do? Boop, don't care. Move on. But that's warning sign number one, right? So I knew right off the bat, not only have I not even vetted this deal yet, but this guy is coming in and he's talking about this garbage, right? And being a jerk and not being somebody I want to work with. And at this stage in what I'm doing, I want to work with people I want to work with. And the fact that I can do that is awesome. And shoot, that's why I do it, right? So I did not want to work with this dude. He was giving out those warning signs right away. Now, as it moves down the line and somebody else picked up the deal and worked on it and was keeping me updated, what ended up happening was the following. He still refused to send the upfront money. And it turns out that when somebody is rude like that and isn't sharing all the information on their deal and is just trying to get your money, big shocker, this guy ended up not really knowing what he was doing. Turns out he didn't have the funding in place that was necessary to close on the deal. He hadn't been straightforward with the sellers, and the deal ended up blowing up. Big shocker, right? So did I see that from the front end? Yes. I already saw that was coming. Did I know it was going to happen? No. I mean, there's the deal could have gone through, which would have been great because people would have made money. That would have made me happy. But deal didn't go through. No big surprise. So let's talk about this deal and deals in general. The three things to look for in bad borrowers. The first one is what I would call like a superiority complex, right? Like they're better than you. I've got a ton of examples of this, not just this one, but I've got some bangers of good conversations that I've had. And the issue with this is where, it's a biblical principle that the borrower is slave to the lender, right? And so when somebody's coming in to borrow money, they should be catering to you as the lender, right? They should say, what do you need? What's going to make this deal work for you? How can I communicate better? How can I do anything, to work with you? When you have somebody come in and act like they're entitled to your money, especially if you don't even know them, it's like, what the heck? Like, what is going on? Like, why are you acting like this when I'm the one that would be lending you the money and helping you, usually out of a sticky situation or a tough situation that you haven't been able to find a solution to? So if they think they're better than you when they're trying to borrow money, no bueno. You don't owe them anything, right? You do not owe anybody anything, and you should never feel like you do, especially when it comes to lending money. Now, here's a fun one. I don't know how I'm going to pop it up, but I'm going to pop up a little screenshot of an email conversation I had with another person. Same situation, right? They refused. And this time, this one was even better. So this time, it was $250 upfront. That's it. It was $250 upfront. I think they were asking me for a couple $1,000 in EMD. So not a crazy charge at all. It was literally just enough to pay the TC. And this guy, I'll throw the screenshots up or whatever, or maybe they'll be down here. But this guy was basically like, no, I'm not going to pay your fee. And I said, that's no problem. And he said something like, why do you charge a fee? And I was like, well, to be honest with you, because this guy had come to me and basically said, I'm a big wholesaler. I do a bunch of deals. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then he was like, no, I can't do your fee. And I was like, okay, well, just so you understand, right? Flipping the perspective for you. If you had somebody come to you saying they do a bunch of deals and they're really successful, and then they say that they're not able to pay you $250 up front to actually underwrite and spend the time to do the deal properly and wire you the money, what does that tell you about the borrower, right? Maybe they don't do what they say they do. Maybe they're not quite as good as they think they are. It's possible. Just saying, it's possible, right? And so this guy asked me why I wasn't going to do it, and I basically said that. I said, look, man, It does not look good for me if you're not able to pay $250 when you're saying that you're doing 10 plus deals a month, making $100,000 a month. Like, you recognize that divide, right? I hope that we're on the same page here. And his response to me right there was basically, who do you think you are? You don't know who. If you knew who I was, you would never talk like that. Like, you should respect me, blah, 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 blah. Again, don't care, right? So clearly this guy thinks he's better than me. You're not better than anybody else. Everybody's equal, especially in business, right? Which was my response to him. I don't know if I threw that up there, but especially in business. Like, I don't care if you are famous. I don't care who you are. If I'm running a business, then I'm going to follow my business practices regardless. So by trying to gaslight somebody or scare somebody into something just because of your status or who you are, like, come on, really? So that's sign number one of a bad borrower, is somebody who thinks they're better than you, somebody who thinks they're entitled to their money when they absolutely are not ever entitled to do that. So don't let anybody push you around. If you're lending money, then you are in charge. You get to determine what the fee is. You get to determine the entire thing, how things are going to go, because it's your stuff. So take advantage of that. Now, the second one is basically the complete opposite person. So the first one is somebody who knows what they're doing and they're just a jerk about it, which, gosh, I hate those people. But the second one can be even worse because the second person is somebody who has a lack of understanding of how a deal works. So this is sign number two of a bad borrower in lending, is somebody that does not understand how the process actually works. Is that a crime? No, it's not a crime. But we want to know a lot more about this person if they don't understand how it works, because guess what? When you lend money, it's a mutual transaction, a mutual interaction, right? Where they're keeping you updated on the deal, you're checking in on the deal, checking on the HUDs, all this stuff. And so if they have that lack of understanding, you want to know how many deals have they actually done, right? Because if it's their first deal, then for me personally, it's going to look a lot different how I'm vetting them than if they've done 10 plus deals. But if they've done 10 plus deals, does that mean they know what they're doing? Heck no. They could be lying for all I know. They could be doing it with a partner. It could have been a different type of deal, or maybe they're just stumbling their way through and who knows, and still making money potentially. But we don't know any of that stuff. So that is not going to be, the main driving factor. I just want to know what is the reason behind you not understanding how this stuff works? Is it because you're new? Is it because you're dumb? Is it because you just don't care? I don't know. But here's a statistic for you. About 70% of my deals are actually deals that are EMD. Let me explain. So I have a website, swiftemd.com, where people send me deals and ask for funding. On that website, again, I'll throw like a image right here. On the website, in bold, it says, I need EMD, and then it explains what EMD is. And then you click on it, and in bold, it says, this is what needs to happen. It needs to be refundable EMD. This is what non-refundable EMD is. These are my requirements. And then you have to click, I agree to all this stuff before you get to the form, right? So 2 layers, right? And when you get past those 2 layers and you finally get to the form and fill it out, only 70% of those deals are actually EMD. So 3 out of 10 deals are not even EMD deals, and it's somebody that went through all of those steps to request private money lending or gap lending or whatever else. A personal loan. People do that. It's like, what were you reading? Like, where did I go wrong? How could I be any more clear, right? So yeah, a lack of understanding, right? Like, are you going through that many steps and you're still not understanding what's going on here? Or do you just hate me? Could be either of those things. But lending is a detailed sport. And if people can't follow the simple rules like that, and you're looking to build or scale a business with people that know what they're doing, yes, you could make money with that person, but you're probably not going to end up being a long-term partner with them. So that's something to consider. Another story with the EMD thing is I had somebody flip out. You're going to sense a common theme here. I had somebody flip out about the upfront fee the other day, right? And they were like, it was something like, how dare you tell us that you can fund our stuff fast and then you charge this fee, and then like you didn't even tell us that you charged the fee, whatever else, right? And again, let me put it up here. There's a big red bold thing that they filled out that said a $250 minimum non-refundable fee is due when you sign to get this money sent over to you. That is due up front in bold. And they had the audacity to say, I had no idea. How dare you, blah, blah, blah. Like, again, these are probably signs of bad borrowers, right? Are these really people you want to work with? Not just people that get upset, but people that can't follow such clear instructions that, guess what? This is the easy part, right? Sending it in, getting the money sent in, like that's the easy part. What about when the deal goes bad? What about when something happens? What about when a lawsuit arises? Like if you can't get through the easy stuff, good luck, right? So that's sign number 2, bad borrower. They don't know what the heck is going on. Is that the end of the world? No. But is it a bad sign? Yeah, it's definitely a bad sign. So don't let people tell you that they're better than you and try and push you around. Pay attention to people that have no idea what's going on. And the third one is poor communication. If somebody has poor communication, I don't want to be their friend. Not seriously. Some of you guys watching this are probably like, oh, I never respond to text messages. Yeah, I get it. Some people are like that. I'm getting worse about that stuff too now. But poor communication in lending is a whole different thing. Why? Because communication, in my opinion, is more important than the deal itself. I said this quote before. I would be willing to do bad deals with people that communicate well over doing good deals with people that don't communicate. And I mean that. And I have the experience and the evidence to back up that I will do exactly that. Because if somebody is keeping me posted on a deal, good, bad, or ugly, we will figure it out, right? We will figure out how to get through that deal and get to the next one, get our money back, hopefully even make some money, or even handle if we lose money, right? Losing money sucks, but welcome to life. Not everything is sunshine and rainbows. So even if we lose money, it's okay. But if I'm going to make money on a deal, like the deal I brought up at the beginning of this video, right? If I'm going to make money on a deal with somebody, but they're not communicating clear, they're being shady, they're not explaining all of the details, I'm not about it. It's not a good idea. It is a huge red flag. And you want to, not only do you want to work with people that communicate well, but you want to establish that upfront communication with them so that they can understand what you are expecting. Because again, if I don't tell you to communicate with me, well, now it's my fault, right? That's my problem. Like I was talking out my butt and didn't actually give you clear directions. So you have to establish that clear direction. But once you do that, if you have somebody, again, let's go into example mode here. I had somebody last week that requested $5,000 earnest money. Ooh, I have multiple stories like this. I'll start with this one. So I had somebody last week that requested $5,000. I said, cool. Called the title company to confirm the wire instructions and confirm that the file was open. And the title company said, we don't have any files under that address. I said, okay, well, if you don't have any files under that address, let me reach back out to them and see if A, they were trying to scam me, or B, maybe I called the wrong title company, or common problem is you just call the wrong branch of the title company, right? So I sent him a message back, said, hey man, I've got the money ready to go. Would love to work with you. But I called the title company and they don't have that file. So what's the deal, right? It took this guy 2 days to respond to that message. And when he did, he said something like, what's the problem? And I was like, your file doesn't exist. That's the problem. I haven't talked to anybody that says that this is a real file. He took another day to respond to that. And literally, I'll have to see if I can find the screenshots for this. He literally just said, no, it's a real file. I was like, okay, thanks for that. I already got that when he sent it in, but how are you going to prove it to me? Send me the information for the title company, right? That was on a Thursday. He then waited until Monday to reach back out to me and said, hey man, when are we getting this deal funded? And I was like, are we still even having this conversation? And he said, I'll get you everything you need. I'm sorry, I've been busy. And I said, no need, brother. I'm not working with you. Sorry. And it was going to be a good deal too. I was going to make good money. But guess what? Again, if I haven't said enough, don't care. This guy was not communicating. I am not about that. Imagine when we get to closing, there's an issue with the HUD. Or shoot, at this point with this guy, I wouldn't have even expected him to have included me in the review of the HUD and in the whole process in the first place. So big red flag there. And I had another one really similar to that. The same thing last week where somebody requested $30,000. So this is a big EMD. They requested $30,000 and they filled out my contracts. I confirmed that everything checked out. And then I said, hey man, I need you to send those contracts to the title company and CC me. I cannot make this stuff up. I said, you need to send those contracts and CC me so that I can check in on them. The dude didn't send the contracts. The next day I said, hey man, you said you need this money by today at the latest and you still haven't sent the contracts. What's the deal? And he said, don't worry, bro, I'm on it. Still didn't send the contracts. The next day I said, hey man, what's going on? And he said, sorry, I'll send them soon. Still didn't send them. And then on the fourth day, guess what message I sent? I said, hey man, sorry to break it to you, but I ain't working with you, right? Same thing. Like, if these people are this bad at communication, they clearly don't have a respect for the amount of money that they're asking for from you. Like $30,000 and you can't send an email? Really? Not for me, right? So that's the third one, is that poor communication. And you know, these people crazy. Like there's so many things that can go wrong. And I'm going to do another video for you guys on breaking down like the technical details of what makes a bad deal. But these three things, you know, if somebody thinks they're better than you, if they don't have any idea what's going on or they're not able to communicate with you, just run the other way. Because at the end of the day, if your goal is to make money consistently with people who know what they're doing, any of these three things is going to be grounds enough to be incredibly questioning, if not just completely run the other way.